Lesson 8-16, Predictions and Probability. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to use theoretical and experimental probability to make predictions, as well as find the odds of an event occurring. Make sure you have a piece of paper and a pencil so that way you can pause the video and work right along with me. So let's jump right in. In 1,000 spins, we're going to predict how many times the spinner will land on 6. So in order to do this, we'll first find the theoretical probability, then multiply the probability by the number of trials. So we would use the formula P times E equals the favorable outcomes over the possible outcomes. So we would plug in our numbers to being P times 6, because we're wondering how many times it would land on 6 if we spun it 1,000 times. So that would be, there's 1 6 here out of 4. There's a chance, 1/4 chance that it would land out of 6. Then we multiply by the number of trials. So we have 1/4. That's the possibility of it landing on 6, but we're doing it 1,000 times. So we're going to multiply that by 1,000, which equals 1/4 times 1,000 over 1. And then we can do some crossing out. Our 1s would cancel out into, they just stay 1s. And then 4 cancels to 1, and 1,000 to 250. So we're left with all 1s except for this 250. So based on that probability, we would predict that the spinner would land on 6 about 250 out of 1,000 spins. So again, when we're doing this, we're just finding the probability, multiplying that fraction by how many times. It's wondering, how many times would that happen? We can also use experimental probability to make predictions. So looking at this chart here, someone spun a 4-section spinner 40 times. Okay, so 40 times they spun it. These were their results that they got after spinning it 40 times. Blue, they spun 16 times. Yellow was 8 times. Red, 10 times. And orange, 6 times. If we take a look at these results, what can we expect as a result of blue, just looking at the blue, on the next 100 spins? So first we would need to find the experimental probability of spinning blue. So that would be 16 times out of 40, because that was how many times they spun it. So 16 out of 40. That would reduce down to 2/5. Then we need to multiply 100 by this experimental probability, because we're trying to figure out if I spun it 100 more times, what would I end up with? So 2/5 times 100, I'm going to put that over 1 so that they're easy to multiply, and that would equal, I can reduce my 5 to 1, and 5 goes in there 20 times. So now I have 20 times 2, which would equal 40. So I would predict to spin the blue about 40 times in the next 100 spins. Go ahead and rewatch any part of the video before heading off on today's lesson.